So that's the Lukas lemon yellow. See how beautiful that color travels into the paper. And this is the joy of watercolor, because you can see the paint move onto your paper. And this is a cheap watercolor paper that I'm using. And this is an old sketch, that's why look at the mottled appearance of the paper. And I just happened to unearth this together with the watercolor paints that I mentioned. And while this is wet, I'm going to dip my paper in my brush into clean water and leave some of that color off to give it some highlight. And then drop in. So I'm pairing the lemon yellow with the magenta. See, my paints did not dry up because I covered it with a bowl. And from your experience, you'll be able to tell how much paint is getting loaded into your brush. And so I'm just trying to add a little bit of that color there and some over here. And with watercolor, you cannot, even if you wanted a dark yellow or dark red, you cannot do it in one application. You have to sort of layer the colors until you get the color that you're looking for. So this is a sunflower that has orange and red. Okay, I'm going to lift some of the color that traveled in the center while it's still wet. And the best thing about using very good quality paper is that you can lift the color without damaging the paper, scratching the whole thing and ruining the experience. This is a 300-gram Fabriano 140-pound paper, and look at how nice the color transparency of the watercolor paint looks like, and it doesn't buckle up compared to this one, where you have to be very, very careful not to scratch the surface. So it's going to stain the paper as well. And you have to sometimes work with your left hand holding the the tissue paper, because you cannot allow the color to cross the other petal. So if you ask me, I would rather have a very good quality paper before I move on to the more expensive. Don't worry about that, you can cover that up. See, it's traveling to the next petal. So I have to stop working with this because I think this one is also wet. Someone's alarm is going off. And let's do this petal. So yeah, going back to the paper, if you're on a tight budget, I suggest that I would rather get one of the more expensive 300 GSM 140 pound paper, so you can actually fully experience what it's like to the many nuances of watercolor painting. And it won't be as frustrating compared to when you're working with cheap paper like this that doesn't absorb much water, and at the same time, it's once you lay the color, sometimes it stains and it's there forever, and it's hard to lift the color or the paint, the pigment. So yes, definitely, if you have extra money, go for a very nice, good quality paper such as Arches watercolor paper. It's 2024 and I've been seeing a lot of the Baohong Academy watercolor paper that it's being used by a lot of the YouTubers these days, and I still have a lot of Arch. I have 3 pads of Arch watercolor paper that I failed to use because I stopped painting. So this is going to take a while. I'm the kind of painter who, not painter, hobbyist that work on my paintings as slow as I can be. And sometimes I would get up, stop doing this, and do other chores. I saw my old paintings. Like I said, I unearthed some of my very first watercolors that I bought 1994. I saw one of my large watercolor painting and it was dated 1994. So now I can positively say that I bought those paints way back 1994. So the best thing about using good quality paper such as Arches, anything that is 300 GSM and 140 pound, is that you're able to lift the color easily without scratching the paper. You can lift it over and over and it's still going to be smooth and fine, unless of course you scratch it on purpose. But yeah, if you have extra money, I suggest that you go and invest on a good quality paper before putting that money in a professional artist grade watercolor, because there are a lot of good quality student grade beginners watercolor paint or just go to YouTube and find out what they are. Of course, not all YouTuber watercolorists will recommend the same thing, but just try to get their top 10 and you'll see. And I was watching last night and I'm so happy right now. I'm really mind-blowing revelation that two of my first 1994 purchase includes my Van Gogh and Grumbacher. Fortunately, no Lukas, but my Van Gogh is one of the top 10, mostly one of the top 10, and the Grumbacher as well. So, wow. I'm so happy that I made the right choice. So, yeah, go for 300 GSM, 140-pound paper, because it will give you that wonderful, glorious experience of working with watercolors. So I still have paint left in this brush, and I'll go over, pick up a little bit of water and darken this area here where I used the Marie color. Marie is not bad because it's transparent. It's a good watercolor paint to start with if this is going to be your first time. It doesn't break the bank. And you get to enjoy, but at least get one of those 230 GSM that's a little thick enough for you to start working with watercolors until you get used to the blending of the colors. So this is vermilion. I'm just going to put it there while the paper is still wet. And again, I'm going to dip my water in that mini well to remove the paint and then clean my brush in the large. So what I'm trying to create is a mix of the two yellows and the two red, although I'm using the vermilion on the Marie's watercolor and the magenta in the Lukas yellow with the lemon yellow. So this is going to take a while because this is the type of hobby that you want to do when you're trying to relax. It's something that you cannot rush, and so maybe you can turn on your television and watch your favorite TV show. In my case, when I was in New York, I would watch Seinfeld. And here, where there's a lot of, God bless YouTube. So I'm mostly on YouTube these days, watching a lot of crime drama series, whatever's on the news. It's January 2024, so there's quite a lot, really. This is post-COVID. And so, yep, I saw my 1994 painting. And then after that, so there's a 15 years gap. And then when I went to New York, I started painting again. It was 2014. That's when I bought the other paints that I have right now. And then after 2014, there was a huge gap again. And happened, I started painting again during COVID, when we were all on lockdown. So if you have to decide which one to buy, paper or watercolor, I say paper. Because you can get one of those good quality watercolor paints, such as there's a lot. I cannot actually specifically tell you what to buy, because I guess it depends on your budget and also where you are in the part of the world. I will be able to see this more clearly if the sun is up now. You have to love that lemon yellow. And there's some paint left on my brush, so I'm gonna dip it in a little bit of water and glaze this while it's still a little bit damp. If there are sharp edges, then you can always clear it up with your brush. It's getting there, but not quite. And so I have my tissue in front of me, and my hand has also this toilet paper that I use to to clear up the water from the brush. Okay, so let's do this one. And if this painting looks good, once I'm done, I'm going to, oops, that's a surprise right there. I think when I was opening one of the watercolor tubes. Something fell off the paint tube. There. I just love the way the watercolor paint travels and moves. Onto the paper, and this would have been a much more glorious experience if this is a 300 GSM paper, cold press. I am not I don't like hot press watercolor paper. I prefer the cold press watercolor paper. I don't know why. To each his own, I suppose. And I'm trying to create those tiny lines on the paper, dabbing it into water, and here, scratching the paper. Okay, so let me stop right here for a while. At least I was able to show you what I do, and I'm gonna finish my coffee and show you the finished paint later. Okay, so I grabbed my Grumbacher yellow because I'm looking at it and there's something wrong with it. The colors, some of the colors are not blending, they're getting patchy. And so I took my Grumbacher yellow. It's yellow pale and the cap is already broken, so I'm going to put it here. It's a 7.5 ml tube. It's the Grumbacher Aquarelle, watercolor Aquarelle. And once, so I'm keeping it here in the small tin, right there. And once I started adding a layer of this yellow, you'll know that this paint is doing its purpose in life. Because the painting or the color just came alive. And again, I'm not claiming to be a professional just yet, although I started early. I did not paint as often as I would want to. Look, that is a Grumbacher yellow wash. Look at how the color changed. It's beautiful. It's blending with the rest of the colors. So now I know, just like I said, I stopped painting and using this paint. I think I left it here in Manila when I left for New York way back 2010. Yeah, I'm not sure if I brought it with me to New York because I did not use it. I only opened the box just when we moved back here to the new house. The old house that was built, we had the old house totally knocked down. And look, that's so nice. And that's the Grumbacher. That is totally ruined. I just scratched the paper. Let's put it here. Oops. Now I know why Grumbacher is loved or liked by a lot of watercolorists out there. This paper is not that bad. I mean, you can scratch it and maybe unless I get insane scratching it then it's going to ruin the paper, but it's okay for a beginner. So a couple more wash and look at the color. Look, that's so nice. And sometimes it takes right amount of water and right amount of pigment or paint to get what you want. Yeah. So there's a reason why some paints are expensive and some paints are not. But you work with what you have. And there you go. So I'm gonna finish this. Again, I already had some coffee. My throat is itchy. I'll see you in a short while when I finish this. Let me show you what it looks like. I'm going to put some of this yellow here. That is the Grumbacher pale, yellow pale yellow. It's not as bright as the lemon yellow. So now that I saw this, I think I should have used this instead of the lemon yellow. Okay. So this is Lukas Burnt Umber, and I was supposed to use this Marie's Burnt Sienna because look at it, I barely used it, and or the Burnt Umber, but I cannot, it's bone dry. Ugh. I cannot squeeze it out of the tube, as well as this one I cannot squeeze it out, so but I will not throw it like what I did with the other colors. I will just simply take the rock hard paint and soak it in water and put them here, just like what I did with this one. Look, this is the Prussian blue of Marie, and like I said, I bought this 1994, so it's kind of expected, although I love the granulation of this. It's already dry, so it's not granulating anymore, but oops, palette is moving. So it's more on the paper that I'm using, and this more or less tells you why I prefer investing on a good paper. When I started back again, I'm just simply using up all of the old ones that I bought. I don't want to wait, put it to waste. I can still use it, practicing. And then I'm going to put green. So the green from Marie's is a little bit meh, but there's some granulation there, so I think it's more also on the paper. I can't wait to use these paints again using the 140-pound 300 GSM paper, because it might have a different reaction to a very good cold press thick paper. And it also lifts very well, this paint from Lukas. Again, I'm just starting to paint again. The kind of painter who paints and then stops for a long time, long periods of time. And so I'm just trying to get a hang of it again. Been watching a lot of YouTube videos on painting, and there's a whole, like a million YouTube channels that they're all good. They're all good. I can't really exactly pick and recommend one, but I always go back to Paint Crush with Christy Rice, Debbie Walker. Who else? There's a lot. Actually, they're all good. And it's a little bit still not finished yet, but I don't want to do anything more because I think I'm just gonna muddy up the whole paint, and those are such a big mess. And also look at the paper. See, that's all from scratching, lifting the paper, so this is not exactly good. And in the meantime, I think, yeah, I need to put some background here, at least around the side, the edges of the flower. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so anyway, this is some old paper. I'm just reusing it. I didn't want this to go to waste. And also, I forgot to mention, I'm not sure if I did, but I opened this is Grumbacher. This is the yellow pale color. And then I also added a little bit more of the lemon yellow, and the color just simply popped out when I added the Lukas lemon yellow. So I thought he made a mistake in using that one, but fortunately not. So this is what I do when I work on a piece. I prop it up here in the kitchen where the natural light is, and then I just look at it every time I pass by this and see whether there are areas that I need to work on further, like this part here where the petals and the leaves meet. It's supposed to be a bit darker here because there's supposed to be shadows here. Okay, and then around here and also the center, I have to work on that. And so that's basically what I do. I put it here and then I look at it every time I pass this part of the kitchen, just to see what needs correction or what needs improvement. And sometimes I would let it sit here for a couple of days while I rest my back. Yep. I think the top part, I don't want to add more pigment to it. This one right here is what I want to correct. And also the center and also some part of that flower so that I can highlight the lighter areas. And again, I'm a beginner, although I started early 30 years ago. I did not keep on painting. This would have looked better if I used a much more expensive watercolor paper, but this is what I have. I'm just recycling sort of this drawing that I did probably 20 years ago. Okay, so there you have it. I'm just sharing this to any beginners out there, to all the beginners out there who want to get started on watercolor. Go ahead, go to the store, buy online paper, a good quality paper, and a mid-range watercolor, and get started, because this is way too much fun to pass up.